I'm so happy to be here with you today. Finally feeling like myself, pushing through this past week and a half. All I was traveling, and then obviously back pains next week. Last week. I'm feeling good to be back in the zone with y'all. Big shout out over here uh, to everyone. I don't think this pump is much of anything at this particular moment, right? Let's take a look. Let's start off with Bitcoin. Then we'll move into today's data, today's job data between JOLTS as well as ADP. We'll be looking tomorrow at the Fed expectations, and silver's going bananas. We got to start off with silver here, as it is definitely here at 60 on its way to 90. We'll revisit then before we hit eventually triple digit silver. That's quite the forecast, no question about it. Gold also on the verge of potentially breaking out from our resumption of this consolidation. At the same time, this also looks to me bear flaggish. Could still go either way. Even if we get the trigger, the unexpected trigger to the upside, close your eyes. We'll stay on the right side, and then we'll look for what an invalidation of that breakout looks like. There is mega momentum taking place today. Big. I mean, listen, a lot of people giving up on Bitcoin. A lot of people giving up on Bitcoin simply because of the slow motion going nowhere. People getting exhausted. Sometimes time capitulation is a real thing. We'll find out. So let me just jump back. What's squeezing silver? What's interesting about this, though, I just want to, as we're gonna have fun today. We are seeing now silver on the second or third. 79 RSI in September, and then we have October and November, two prints above it. Do you remember we saw gold do the same thing out on the monthly chart? And remember how long gold stayed overbought? It still is. Let's take a look at this. That's the weekly. Let me jump over to the monthly. And it's still overbought. This is the longest in gold's history that gold has ever remained this overbought. Even coming back over here, when gold was first depegged over here, it went on a massive run, but never for this long. You are witnessing here monetary reset in real time, and it is absolutely nuts. Gold has been overbought versus above. Here's a 78 print, but above 80 since March. Here we are now into December. Silver is now on its third month. How much more does it got in it? Let's see what the gold price was when it first came overbought and oversold. Oscillators, sometimes they for sure call the turn, but sometimes, and this is one of those occasions, this is textbook when you could see overbought or oversold remain so for a long, long time. Gold first reaching a close over here at 31.35. It's currently 25% higher, over 25% higher at 4,200, and has remained in this massive monetary reset since silver has got the momentum now. It looks good. Nah, I don't have any thoughts on GameStop at all. By the way, Ethereum here after stop loss back in the market, and now this one here pumping a little bit, 8.5% unrealized gains, and gold and Bitcoin is looking potentially here 6.5 hours from now to go ahead and take 1/3 of that 100% allocation in Ethereum and lock in some profit. So that's nice. That's really beautiful over here. And we're still seeing everything out on the sidelines. For those that are wondering, as far as what V4 and how V4 is handling this, it's late compared to Ethereum's entry. It just has an enter long pending right now. Solana also here entering long pending, and I just saw Bitcoin just tick off. It was also enter long pending. So CTMX here with the early entry, and it's looking good. And then Tesla here is the only thing that we have in the market as far as stocks. And it currently is just here close to break even, up 2.9%. And looks like it could be a good entry. Yeah, I mean, let's from a 1.1.0 style, silver just making out right now. Looking to confirm that. Speaking of confirming, and let's go over, take a look at Bitcoin here. And I put out a post out on X and I said, Bitcoin is on the verge of making a repair. The reason I put verge is because of this right here, our structure. One touch, two touch, and right into it. You know, getting above that, from my perspective, puts us back neutral into the descending wedge. If we're able to get back neutral into the descending wedge, that's a major repair from the breakdown. If we're able to break out to the upside, that then becomes exciting in so much as anytime you get a breakdown of a pattern, descending wedge, you know, usually breaks out to the upside, broke down, definitely looks like capitulation. And then if it's able to break out to the upside, traders are trapped. Whether that means that people are short, and I see some short side liquidations escalating, bringing in further buyers, or whether that means that people sold their Bitcoin because it was, you know, 4-year cycle and we're seeing a bear market come into 2026, you know, whatever the drawdown is, 70, 80, 90%, 12 months in duration. And I'm just going to, are they going to, what happens when price trades at new all-time highs? Do those people come back into the market? Likely not. Likely they're left behind. And unfortunately, likely they're left behind. Again, early majority here. This is not about retail anymore. So we'll find out. You can see over here. So, let me just continue the story over here. I'm just going to move this structure down over to here where we had resistance, support, resistance, and then again touch the support. And you can see it coinciding with our green line, our breakdown. So losing this over here, 87,500, that definitely sets up bearish continuation. The lows likely to be retested from November 21st if that were occurring. Again, we're just into resistance right now, structural resistance. It's very clear. Is it dependent on what happens with the Fed tomorrow? Or is it going to be even more dependent on what happens with the Bank of Japan? Let's take a little bit look here at the data. 1 second. Finally, right? Solana's been in a massive year-long bear market and or major consolidation. Depends on your perspective. So you can see here from this view, this is our mega level lost that we're still having trouble regaining. Regaining that would be a major repair. And then I just want to try to line this up over here and see what a 1.0 looks like. And yeah, there it is. Very beautiful, very clear of where we need to trade above. I wonder how that looks in relation to the wedge. So it's like 98 almost sloping downwards, and the wedge is just above 98. So you could see that how important that level is. That would be not only a repair, that would be a buy impulse, and then we'll see where and if it were to carry. Just another look over here, and I'm just going to move this parallel channel up to that last touch over here, and then you can see that's that same resistance that we're dealing with. So we got, or peaked into resistance today, and we'll see whether or not we're able to make the major repair above it. So I'll leave that in there. This has become less relevant, the bottom point of the wedge, because I'm tracking that structure right over there. And this would be a breakdown. This would be a breakout. We're in no man's land coming into the FOMC. We're seeing here NASDAQ just kind of not doing anything over here, just hanging out, awaiting probably some central bank action over here. I want to talk briefly about the data that we did get. We say ADP jobs coming in, adding jobs, And then JOLTS beating expectations as well. Just dig in a little bit under the hood. ADP weekly employment report signals a rebound in the market. And after just giving up a few weeks in a row of job losses, it's nice to see this turn the other way. Is this anything to read into at this particular moment? Remember, just rewinding just a little while ago, my expectations were that we've seen we're going to see the job market stabilize. Now, I don't think we're going to see an improvement in the job market. I was talking about stabilization, right? Is that what we're about to see? Are we entering into a low fire, like less people being laid off? We saw a lot of people laid off in the tech sector. I think that likely still continues, and a low higher economy. Even if that continues, if you're in a low higher economy, there are still baby boomers retiring from the workforce. So you still will continue to lose jobs moving out on a longer term into the future. Way too early to tell right now. This is kind of interesting though. Job openings unexpectedly soar, even as a number of quits plunge to 5-year lows. So you're seeing more job openings and less quits over here. This is interesting simply because that you could see over here, we had 2 months in a row of actually less job openings than people looking for it. We've never before entered a recession when you've had more job openings than people looking for jobs. So that's interesting, right? So right now, are we seeing a slight improvement in the hard data? I can't make up my mind yet. It's still too fragile to say or anything like that. Yes, I could take today's data and make it fit my own expectations of what I seen coming in the future, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just gonna lay back and say, okay, whatever. It was just one data point. It hasn't really affected markets whatsoever. If you move to January over here and you look at, there's no change. That data was just absorbed, not really making a difference whatsoever. Definitely not changing the Fed's expectations of what's to come into tomorrow. By the way, today and this week, you're looking at just whether it's a flat tape or an up tape. As we have right now, we're seeing $8 billion of CTA buyers coming into the market. Not really a big deal. So I don't even know why I mention it. Always, yes, indeed, and true to form. So that's interesting one. If you remember, throughout up until the election, throughout 2024, I kept being like, these numbers are fake, these numbers are not real, but there's no other thing that we could do but react to the numbers that were given. And then towards the end of the year, we came out with all those revisions, and sure enough, all the numbers were fake and all the numbers are real. The next time we get BSL revisions, what's that going to look like and what direction it's going to go? Listen, I can make the case that there was an election year and there was every incentive to make the data look good for the sitting president. And I can make the case now that there's every incentive right now to make the data not look good for the sitting president. Are they going to be reversed the other way? I don't know. That doesn't really matter. No, so listen, just really quick, Bitcoin on exchanges dropping to. There's plenty of Bitcoin. There's plenty of Bitcoin on exchange. There's plenty of Bitcoin over the counter, and more importantly, if at any point in time Bitcoin price rises, there'll be plenty more Bitcoin because there'll be plenty willing sellers. There are only 21 million Bitcoin ever to be issued into existence. However, you have to wonder what's going on with all of the Wall Streetness of Bitcoin and all the products available. Listen. It's a scarce asset. It's dependent on adoption, though, right? It doesn't matter if it's a scarce asset if there's no adoption. We're seeing further adoption, and that continues very strong here in early majority. And then it's also dependent on the devaluation of the underlying. So I think Elon went to like Doge, and Doge's still at it, by the way. But then he went to the humanoids, the only thing that grows out of this debt, making sure he missed those milestones for Tesla. Elon was talking about something for the first time I ever heard, by the way, and he was talking about like if something unexpectedly were to happen to him, who his successor would be. And he said that he's let the board know who he wants to be his successor, but ultimately it would be up to the board to decide who was going to be the successor and how important it is when you're building the future of having those plans in pit. I wonder, could you guys foresee? I picture. Tell me if you think this is so far out that it's ridiculous. But Elon, right? He's in head of these massive companies. He's very concerned about what happens to them, why he's alive. It's why he wanted the certain, let's say, assurities on the last Tesla shareholder vote, that as he builds this robot army and AI powered army, that he wants to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Could you picture a point in time where Elon nominates an AI to the board? Could you imagine a future where corporations you've all thought about, the idea of governments being run by AI, and a lot of governments are already training and utilizing AI, and there's the whole fear, rightfully so, could be dystopian about like AI running municipalities and governments across the world. But could you imagine that moving into the corporate area? And I think Elon would feel more comfortable about an AI that he has developed, programmed, and trained, making the future decisions that he believes benefits humanity than some other variable human being. So that's interesting. It's the first time that's the first time that I kind of saw the groundwork being laid with Elon's latest thoughts on that. Yeah, this is interesting. I still think that Elon believes he's going to be able to build a better Bitcoin, and I would not be surprised if that happened on the Doge chain. Maybe not, but I saw an interview 5 years ago from him, and he was talking about once he has the capabilities for just like significantly better internet speeds, he believes that he can make a better Bitcoin. So I don't know. But here we go. Um, Tangents. Where are we at? Let's take a look over here. What's going on? The dollar on the breakdown, just kind of sitting at that horizontal support. Interesting. Horizontal. Huh. But for sure enough, over there, Japanese yen selling off like crazy today. Interesting. And just beautiful structure. These two touch over there, and you could see once again right into it. Just trying to see if that looked a tiny bit off on the upside now. And the 10-year here is definitely pointing to a potential reacceleration of growth as well. It's going to be a while, I think, before that narrative takes foot and heads in. We're going through a bumpy period though into 2026, in so much as, and this will be, I think, more apparent tomorrow. Tomorrow FOMC meets, they're going to give their projections. They're likely going to show in the first half of the year, I imagine, like not an accelerated let's say cutting cycle ahead, which is there shouldn't be at this particular moment. Hold on one second. Here we go. I just highlighted a couple things I wanted to share with you. On the surface, the JOLTS report suggests that the job market is much stronger than some had feared. It's what we were making the assumption at its worst. And certainly the bottom is not falling out. That's about the only thing we could say. Maybe it is going to get worse soon, but it's definitely not falling out at this particular moment. And it suggests that, and I think this is true and correct, it suggests that anyone expecting an aggressive easing cycle in the immediate future will be disappointed. I don't really see a reason for it. Now, we are seeing, right, inflation definitely cooling off. I expect into next year that trend will continue, specifically and especially with shelter and the enormous weighting it has inside the way that they calculate these things. And growth is not disappearing as inflation cools off, fueled by the AI boom. What's the last Atlanta Fed expectations? I just have to check really quick with y'all. Let me just go ahead and find the old and important P&L of Ed Secoda and Atlanta Fed. GDP now is showing, survey says, oh, 3.5%, massive down from the last 4.2 I saw. That's interesting. Huh. What do you make of them apples? Yeah, Cardano is not yet peaking towards entry. So let's jump over here and nice little pump off of Cardano. And we're so far from entering on the long side. If you were having us look at, let me zoom out over here. It looks kind of to me like a lot like Solana in so much as that mega drawdown this past year. Zooming out over here. Conservative entry all the way up there. I don't know if there's any structure. There is very much structure. So I started off on the outside, outermost over here, and then I'm bringing it down, and you can see those two touches and the one up from it. That continues all the way down. So that's the structure. So where price is right now, I mean, that's the earliest underbelly all the way down over there. Quite aggressive. It's a weak link. So here's the thing. Like, we see Bitcoin into resistance right now. We know that we have a lot of central bank activity and with really big ramifications. We know that the last time Powell came off like with a hawkish cut, the markets were not happy about that whatsoever until the Fed governors changed their rhetoric that they were going to cut here in December. Markets have rallied since, not back to all-time highs yet. Obviously, the Fed looks like it's cutting tomorrow. 90% probability priced in right now. But more importantly, what are they going to lay out and communicate in the time ahead? And what are they going to talk about? Reserve balance sheet management, right? So the Fed could come off and walk away with the junkie not getting what it wants tomorrow. It's possible. We talked about the three potential possibilities yesterday. If we see that they're going to say that there's going to be $45 billion a month in reserve management purchases, that for me would be really dovish, and risks should likely really respond well. They might do that if they think that they need to cover for the Bank of Japan, who's getting ready potentially, the following Friday to raise rates. So that could happen. And then if both those forces are at play, we're going to find out which one prevails. But this could be received very hawkish by the market tomorrow. And Bitcoin's attempt at a breakout could just be into resistance right now. If the market comes off and we move in towards a risk off period, like Cardano's going to get swept, right? So it's not the market environment to be looking for Cardano. It is that like Ethereum's is expected to lead once the Fed stops QT, as they just did, and in this particular phase of the Fed cycle. And from here to when we get to the top, at this should be very favorable for Ethereum. And then Solana likely reacts better than Cardano and quicker. But look at it. We've just been safe and out of the market here for an extended period of time. But is Solana getting ready? You could see it right now. into resistance as well, and it's still got a ways to go. It's CTMX is not too far off from attacking on the buy side at around 150. It would be, and that would be probably pretty aggressive. And I mean, a lot of people fell in love with Solana. A lot of people love $250 Solana. Knowing when to be in the market, when out, and on what side is priceless. You need to have the long term mindset. It's the only way to not only thrive, but to grind it out and thrive over the long time. Yeah, not sure what occurs tomorrow with the FOMC, but that's why I'm excited for it. I mean, unfortunately, we live in a central banking system, and the FOMC is still the dollar's still the reserve currency. It has enormous ramifications. But then we also have a major player, Bank of Japan, coming up the following week, and it looks like the two could be going into opposing directions. However, the Fed does not look like it's going to be as easy as a lot of people want. I think for the right reasons. We'll see if I'm surprised by that, by an excessive amount of printing and seeing their balance sheet rise more than the expected 20 billion. And then you see Trump out there and he's like, listen, like whoever is the next Fed chair better be easing. Like, what happens if they don't, by the way? What happens if Trump elects someone that he thinks going to play his game and is dovish and then comes in there and then, like, I remember when Obama was elected president. I don't know if I'm right, but it seemed like like, it seems like he got into the office and then, like, he was, like, sat down and talked to, and then, like, he just completely changed. What happens if that happens with the next Fed chair? And they're not as easing as much as the administration would like. There's a lot of variables at play. My Pence, I mean, we don't want to even mention that name. So listen, here we are into the Fed. And look at markets looking on the potential here as if they might be able to get a nice repair. Ethereum certainly looking good. Silver flying, and we'll take it day by day. So what happened to Trump's refinancing U.S. debt theory? I'm not sure what that means. If you could elaborate a little further. The like right now the US government is being funded on short-term debt. This started under the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. And if you remember, Bessent was a vocal critic of that. Ever since he took over the position, he continues to roll over short-term debt because there's nothing they could do about it. They have no other choice. They've gotten themselves into a hamster wheel. How do they get off it? I mean, we're going to see further Fed Treasury buybacks of long-term duration. If at any point in time there was a crisis and interest rates were to come off back towards the lower bound so that they could implement QE. Don't forget, outright QE is not what we're about to see with the Fed balance sheet rising. It is QE. It's just QE by a different name. To be official QE, you need to be buying long-term duration. You need interest rates down towards the zero bound. Next time that happens, depending on who is president, depending on who is Treasury Secretary, and depending on who's in the Federal Reserve, we'll see whether or not they go ahead and they issue a lot of long-term debt. They had that opportunity in 2020. They could have sold the world an extensive amount of long-term debt at almost near zero. They didn't. That was the biggest folly. Was it done on purpose? I sincerely have to think so. There's no other way you can make one of the greatest blunders in financial history otherwise. I don't know anything about Grant Cardone as far as having a history of being right or not. I don't know his ability to understand the macro. I I don't know. I just don't have any read on him. He's not even on my radar, so I don't know. Yeah, he's not a reference point that I would look to by any means. So, is it possible? I can't stand this whole trading view thing. You can't even now like have trading view on your phone anymore without them banging you for like multiple use. Unbelievable. Unbelievable to say the least. All right, y'all. Did you see? Maybe we should take a look together. Just a couple things over here. Let me find my way and find out where we want to be. And let's see what CoreWeave is doing. You see, Canner has gone ahead with the ticker change today. Now 21 XXI over here. Circle on a major recovery. Is it happening? Let me see. Looks pretty good to me. We were watching this breakout on MetaPlanet. MicroStrategy looks to be catching more juice today, right? Let's hold on and just take a look over here. Up at MicroStrategy, and oof, look at that. Massive, massive, massive deceleration. Trying for a breakout over here. Let's see what else. UK unfreeze Russian funds and sell it to crash the US bond. I saw some hoopla about the Europe and UK threatening to sell $2.2 trillion of US treasuries. That's not going to happen. That's not. That's not even. I don't even think that rumor's the rumor's not even true. All right, y'all. Tomorrow, head of FOMC, we'll be here together. Right now, Tesla holding strong. Ethereum holding strong. Like the entries on it. Let's see whether or not we're able to get any follow through. Just so you have an idea about what's potentially on deck over here. We're just waiting on interesting the ST1 on FNGU. NVIDIA is getting a lot closer to entry. All right. And we are far away from any Bitcoin related entry, whether it's MicroStrategy or the spot ETFs. TQQQ remains on the sideline by ST2. So we're just kind of like the majority in cash. And that's a great place to be here ahead of this central bank uncertainty. Brian, if you missed the entry here on Ethereum, you're not chasing an 8% pump. The general rule of thumb is that if you miss the entry, don't chase it. You could set a limit order for what the entry was supposed to be. Or if price is under the entry price, then you could go ahead and enter and reduce your risk. Now, likely a trade that is X amount into profit has a higher probability of continuing into profit. But since from a data-driven standpoint, I can't give you those exact levels on Ethereum, it's just better not to chase it, especially after an 8% move, you know? But you do want to be very mechanical when trading a mechanical system. Now, I know you just started with us, Brian, last week, but you want to be very mechanical, unfortunately, this trade could reverse abruptly, get stopped out, or it could be one of those trades that goes on for 50, 60, 70%. You just never know, you know? And, unfortunately, well, I don't want to go there anymore, but there was something that I wanted to say. I saw silver price target. Listen, in all fairness, as gold made its breakout. I did a video over here on the channel, and I called gold super cycle on the breakout here above 2000, 2100. And I said, listen, gold is not stopping at 2500. I'll see you at 5000. We'll just reevaluate at that point. We're not there yet. It's been vertical and straight up with a lot more authority than I expected. Reevaluating at 5,000, if it were today, we're like higher for longer. We're seeing monetary reset. Silver, you know, on the break, it's got a lot longer to go in my opinion. I think there was a nice shakeout on the initial burst above 50, as we saw, a lot of TradFi guys chasing here, exiting here, and it was a nice shakeout. Look, how long? Anyway, no targets at this particular point. We're going higher for longer. Is silver riding the tails of gold's monetary reset, or are we seeing the need for the material in the AI build out? Is it a combination of both? Listen, I don't know, but I know a lot of people who would sell their silver at 70. I wouldn't at 90. And I like why 130 seems like a big number. I think that I don't think I don't think we're gonna see triple digit silver. I don't think that. Well, I don't know, a lot higher. How about that? That's my opinion for silver. I mean, it's interesting. I hope I have it up over here, and if I don't, I hope I could find it. Yeah, I don't have it up over here. Yeah, so silver's. I mean, I like what's going to outperform Bitcoin or Ethereum over the next year, and there's a good chance Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin over the next year from today a year forward. Which would you rather own? That's another question. What's going to outperform gold or silver over the next year? Which do you want to own? Are you owning something for what type of time frame? Are you trading it? All those questions are very important. Is silver a lot more risky than gold? Absolutely. Right? Are central banks buying silver? No. Are they going to? No. Could you see, you know, the volatility in silver is a lot different. I wouldn't put silver up there with gold and Bitcoin, right? So it would be gold, Bitcoin, and tech. Select tech is way better. That's the three right there. Select tech, Bitcoin, and gold. Y'all, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a beautiful day, everyone. God bless you. CTM strong. By the way, if you're here, thanks for being here. Please do hit the like button. And everyone out on the replay, lots of love, everyone. Big shout out. I'll see you all tomorrow.